one of the most important poets of the 13th century and a critical precursor to Dante, a mentor to Dante, is Guido Guinizzelli. He was a Bolognian. He was very much involved studying the poets of Provençal and the Sicilian school, but he took it into new and important realms that Dante was going to build on. And the most significant piece we have from him is Love Always Repairs to the Noble Heart, which in Italian is Al cor gentil ripara sempre amore. It's a canzone, it's a song, it's a remarkable meditation on the role of love as a ennobling device. The well, as an ennobling activity, love is seen as something to be pursued as a avenue to blessedness. Now, on the surface, it inaugurates or is given credit for inaugurating the so-called Dolce stile novo, the sweet new style of Italian poetry. The new is really the critical word there. Sweet style. Poets have been practicing trying to make their language sound sweet for quite some time. The new sweet style is an improvement on that, let's say. What Guinizelli really masters is the taking of philosophical concepts and putting them into beautiful language in a way that poets have historically struggled with. Let's say the taking of an abstract philosophical treatise and making it poetry. That's not a hard circle to square, but he manages to do it, and it's a remarkable achievement. The canzone itself is a series of it's written in uh, uh, stanzas of 10 lines each. There is a quartet and then a sestet. The rhyme scheme is pretty rigid: A B A B C D C E F E. The language is meant to be mellifluous. Again, you can Google and find recordings of the original spoken, but even in my butcher, it's you can get a sense of the sweet flowing language within this very rigid rhyme scheme. The language seems to overflow the form at times, but is always rather comfortably nested within it as well. Al cor gentil ripara sempre amore, come la selva agala in la verdura, ne fe amore avante gentil core, ne gentil core avante amore natura. Che deso che fue el sole, si tosto lo splendore fue lucente. Ne fue avanti el sol e prende amor in gentilezza loco, così propriamente come clarore in clarità di fuoco. Again, I'm butchering it, but you can get a little bit of a sense of a kind of a lilting quality, a kind of a mellifluousness that is at the same time a very, very exacting exploration of philosophical themes. He is writing philosophy, he's just doing it in the guise of poetry. Now, in English, the full thing. Love always repairs to the noble heart, like a bird winging back to its grove. Nor was love made before the noble heart, nor did nature, before the heart, make love. For they were there as long as was the sun, whose splendor ever bright, never did love before that shining came. Love nestles deep inside nobility, exactly the way one sees the heart within a fiery blaze. Fire of love in noble heart is caught like power gleaming inside a precious stone. The value does not come down from the stars until the sun has bleached the stone all pure. Only after the might of the sun has drawn out all that's vile does the star bestow its noble power. Just so a heart transformed by nature pure, noble, and elect, a woman starlike with her love injects. Love for this reason stays in the noble heart, like a waving flame atop a burning brand, shining its own delight, subtle and bright. It is so proud, it knows no other way. Yet a nature which is still debased greets love as water greets the fire, with the cold hissing against the heat. Love in noble heart will find a haven like the shine of a diamond glinting in ore within the mine. Love beats against the mud the livelong day, mud it remains. Sun does not lose its ray. The haughty one says, I am noble by my tribe. He is the mud. Sun is the noble power. Man must never believe that nobility exists outside the heart in the grandness of his ancestry, for without virtue, heart has no noble worth. It's a ray through a wave. The heavens retain the sparkle and splendor they gave. Shines among the power of heaven God the Creator more than sun in our eye. Each angel knows the Maker beyond its sphere, and turning its circle obeys God's noble power. And thus it follows at once. The blessed tasks of the Master transpire in the same way in all truth. The beautiful lady should behave, for in her eyes reflects the desire of the noble man, who will turn his every thought to her command. Lady, God will ask me, why did you presume, when my soul stands before this mighty throne? You passed the heavens, came all the way to me, and cheapened me in the light of profane love. To me is due all the praise, and to the queen of the royal realm who makes all fraudulence cease. I'll tell him then, she had an angel look, a heavenly face. What harm occurred if my love in her was placed? Yeah, that's an interesting little discussion of the power of love. Love is a philosophical and divine force. The practice of love brings one closer to God. Love always repairs to the noble heart. We have to be prepared, or we have to be, well, you have to be noble in order to experience love, and love as a kind of divine influence. Here we're seeing a clear meritocracy laid out of sorts. He draws a clear line between those who are just too brutish to understand it, to feel love, to appreciate it, to be sensitive to it. This is a prioritization of sensitivity, of the ability to feel love and experience love and dwell upon that love and not be just casual about it, not be just cavalier about it. That is, somebody who does that is, in the remarkable symbolism of this poem, somebody like that is mud. And that is not necessarily a merit of class either. He takes a shot at noble people. You know, I am noble in my tribe, and then Guinizzelli says, no, he is mud too. Anybody who is haughty like that, anybody who cannot experience it. So it is in that way a somewhat leveling criterion for value, for true nobility. The ability to experience and feel and appreciate love is a sign of nobility, and it is not necessarily caught up in what social status you have. Significantly, however, there is not necessarily a lot of social mobility signaled here. Love in a noble heart will find a haven like the shine of a diamond glinting in ore within a mine. So that gives a sense of just about anybody can see that little spark, and that spark can occur anywhere. But um, mud, it remains. The notion of improvement isn't necessarily indicated here. You cannot learn to love. You seem to be either predisposed to it or antithetical to it, and really never the twain shall meet in the concept of this poem. Um, it is a significant question, I think, to look at it in terms of the gender dynamics here, because the question of the role of the lady, the role of the woman, is a sign of inspiration for the man. The man sees his reflection in the lady's eyes. The beautiful lady should behave in the same way as the blessed tasks of the master transpire. The beautiful lady should behave in certain ways. This is somewhat prescriptive about how a lady should act, and should be then a vessel for that divine inspiration. That a proper lady accepts the role of being the inspiration that men can look at and feel inspired by. And that is the role of women here. And of course, that remarkable concept of her as being just a vessel of pure spirituality. There is no sense of a sexual hint here. There's no sense of a human hint here. It is a empty vessel. The woman here is an empty vessel, a purely spiritual essence that is meant to inspire the common man on earth. And the question of woman comes back in that powerhouse last stanza. Lady God will ask me, why did you presume when my soul stands before his mighty throne? You passed the heavens, came all the way to me, and cheapened me in the light of profane love. God seems to be here somewhat piqued that human beings would start to confuse the idea of profane love with love of God, that the love of a woman could be seen as a mask for the love of God, or a transistor for the love of God, to use a different metaphor there. But that sock in the very end, that roundhouse punch that Guinizzelli delivers. I'll tell him then, she had an angel look, a heavenly face. What harm occurred if my love in her was placed? Which is a remarkable declaration of some early humanism. I'm not sure. She had an angel look. It is a melding of the divine and the human. There is a sense of well, what could it hurt if I loved her too? There is something playful in that last line. What harm occurred if my love in her was placed? I placed my love in her as a kind of repository for God. There's no necessary, because she is such a spectral figure, such a purely spiritual figure throughout, there's really no indication that she is seen to be as, well, okay, he's just rationalizing here. She is, the lady in Guinizzelli's conception here is purely spiritual. And so love for the lady is a proxy for love for the God. but it leaves that little door ajar, the little cheekiness of the response, what harm occurred, almost arguing back against the charge of impiety, arguing back against God. That's remarkable. That's bold. That's rather cheeky, but it's a sign of what's to come. It's a sign of the direction of Italian humanism before it's even born. We're still a generation, let's say, away from any notion of humanism taking shape. I make the argument all the time that Dante is the prime mover, the initiation of that perspective. Petrarch is going to pick it up, and then it's going to develop from there. But here you can see a glimmer, that sense of, well, no, profane love, human love, mundane love, even, if it is in the light of God, if it is understood to be infused with a kind of spirituality, if it is not just coarse love like the mud, then it is worthwhile. Then it is not coarse. It is divine in its own right. Now, the issue with Guinizzelli is he does write in this remarkable poetic medium. The language is very beautiful, even if you have to listen to me read it. But the images are so clear. The mud, the birds, the reflecting eye, all of these poetic conventions are brought to just masterful use in expressing a philosophical argument, a theological argument, and that is a sign of its strength and also a sign of its limitation. There is even for the little spark of personality in that final stanza, that final line, it is a somewhat restrictively philosophical poem. It's there are no people here. There are only ideas. There are broad conceptions of ideals, but there are no human beings. There's no life and blood going on here. Guinizzelli is not arguing from a position of particular attraction to women, but only the broad idea of it. And there, I would say that's leaving room. That's leaving room for someone to come along and pick that out a little bit and draw out those distinctions and come up with something a little bit more personal, a little bit more affecting, a little bit more human, recentering the discussion of the role of love as a kind of divine intercourse. That's an awkward term, but a kind of divine conversation, recentering that out of the divine realm, where it's pretty much exclusively here, but recentering that down more into, if not the human realm, but that intermediary zone, that vague liminal space between the divine and the mundane, where to people, the writers, the poets, the artists of this early proto-Renaissance period are so concerned about bridging that gap and drawing ever so incrementally closer that divide between the divine and the human.